Welcome, welcome. It's been a big break, but now we are back. How you doing, Nick? How's
What
it
up?
going?
What up? What's going on? How are you, sir? It's good to be
Good,
back.
good.
Hell yeah.
What's been happening? Any new things to promote?
I don't know. Let me see what I have coming up this week. I actually don't know. I don't even think I have anything scheduled much this week, unfortunately. I do have let me see what's dropping on YouTube. It might be Plato this week. Plato Part 1. I don't know. Yeah. This weekend I got you know what's coming out for the audio listeners? The Electric Stork we did with Library of the Untold.
Ooh.
Next week, this Friday. Oh, yeah, this Friday. Plato, Part 1, The Philosopher and His Times. It's basically just kind of like his story and his travels. And then the second part will be a little bit on his works. But yeah, check that out. I got Plato Part 1 this week coming out. And guest wise, I don't think we have anybody really coming on until I don't even have anything Friday or Saturday. Fuck. I don't have another guest on until the 2nd. Gotta get booked. Yeah.
We got another mailbag coming out on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys have any of those occult stories, maybe all the ones that other people record are fake. Maybe that's what we're dealing with right now.
I think you should have some mail in there because I think there was a few people that had hit me up and said they sent you shit since the last time we did it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do think there'll actually be something in there for you.
All right. Clear out the spam.
Hell yeah.
Interesting. So let's see. I wanted to start things off a little bit differently because where we ended up on the last time, it was talking about the magical nature of language. And Jimmy Corsetti is coming out. He's breaking news right here. He says that, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. Massive discovery rewrites human history. The oldest form of writing has been found in a cave in where? Germany? Dating back 38,000 years. This is well over 30,000 years older than Sumerian cuneiform from ancient Mesopotamia, which was long thought to be the oldest. Look at this stone, right? This is cuneiform, right? And so check it out. But they're talking about an older form of writing, which is similar to cuneiform. And we can see it here. So this rewrites everything, right? And so what we got to understand about this is that this kind of stuff, predating all of the rest of that stuff, it means that they had influence much older than anything going on in Samaria. And the Northern Crusades probably wiped out a lot of this stuff because they just went around raping, robbing, and pillaging all of these ancient, quote unquote, pagan sites. Right. So they would destroy these gods in the groves up there and they, ravage the people. So we're sort of dealing with a collective amnesia from the time of, ancient times because everybody thought for the longest time the oldest stuff in the world was down in Samaria. But now we got cave writing from 38,000 years ago up in Germany. Like this is way before the Ice Age, right? This is unbelievable stuff. And so get out those history books. Let's rewrite them as quickly as possible so we don't have to go through this reset over and over and over again. We got to get that memory back. Let's see, where are we at? If you guys are following along.
A brief essay upon the nature and significance of the magical alphabet. If you want, I can start it off since I'm already running my mouth.
Sure thing.
All right. The book 777 has for its primary object the construction of a magical alphabet. One of the greatest difficulties experienced by the student, a difficulty which increases rather than diminishes with his advance in knowledge, is this. He finds it impossible to gain any clear idea of the meanings of the terms which he employs. Every philosopher has his own meaning, even for such universally used terms as soul, and in most cases, he does not so much as suspect that other writers use the term under a different connotation. Even technical writers and those who take the trouble to define their terms before using them are too often at variance with each other. The diversity is very great in the case of this word soul. It is sometimes used to mean Atman, an impersonal principle almost synonymous with the absolute itself, a word which has been defined with scores of different senses. Others use it to mean the personal individual soul as distinguished from the oversoul or God. Others take it as an equivalent to neshama, the understanding, the intelligible essence of man, his aspiration. Yet others mean the nefesh, the animal soul, the conscious corresponding to the senses. It has even been identified with the ruach, which is really the mechanism of the mind. Apart from these major distinctions, there are literally hundreds of minor shades of meaning. We find, therefore, a writer predicating the soul A, B, and C, which his fellow students protest vehemently that it is none of these things, despite which the two men may be in substantial agreement.
Well, can I stop you right there? So look at the nature of the word soul itself. It has this solar connotation, right? It's saying something about the sun, right? Just in the basic etymology of it.
I mean, you're taking the word for the sun and just throwing an extra letter in there.
Right. Same sound. And, what's interesting is the soul, the sun, there's something about the sun sign that gives us a piece of our personality, right? So even in that context, there's like an astrological significance to it. Some sort of identity goes along with that personality, which comes from the sun at birth.
Yeah. Good?
Yeah, good.
Let us suppose for a moment that by some miracle we obtain a clear idea of the meaning of the word. The trouble has merely begun, for there immediately arises the question of the relations of one term to the others. There have been few attempts at constructing a coherent system, and those that are coherent are not comprehended. In view of this Euroclidean of misunderstanding, it is clearly necessary to establish a fundamental language. I saw this fact in my 20s. My extended travels throughout the world had brought me into contact with religious and philosophical thinkers of every shade of opinion. And the more I knew, the greater became the confusion. I understood with better approval the outbursts of the aged Fichte. If I had my life to live again, the first thing I would do would be to invent an entirely new system of symbols whereby to convey my ideas. As a matter of fact, certain people, notably Raymond Lully, have attempted this great work. I discussed this question with Bhikkhu Ananda Matea Allen Bennett in 1904. He professed himself completely satisfied with the Buddhist terminology. I could not concur with this opinion. Firstly, the actual words are barbarously long, and possibly so for the average European. Secondly, an understanding of the system depends on complete acquiescence in the Buddhist doctrines. Thirdly, meaning of the terms is not, as my venerable colleague maintained, as clear and comprehensive as could be wished. There is much pedantry, much confusion, and much disputed matter. Fourthly, the terminology is exclusively psychological. It takes no account of extra Buddhistic ideas, and it bears little relation to the general order of the universe. It might be supplemented by Hindu terminology, but to do that would immediately introduce elements of controversy. We should at once be lost in endless discussions as to whether Nibbana was Nirvana or not, and so on forever. The system of the Kabbalah is superficially open to this last objection, but its real basis is perfectly sound. We can easily discard the dogmatic interpretation of the rabbins. We can refer everything in the universe to the system of pure number, whose symbols will be intelligible to all rational minds in an identical sense. And the relations between these symbols are fixed by nature. There is no particular point, for most ordinary purposes, in discussing whether 49 is or is not the square of 7. Such was the nature of the considerations that led me to adopt the tree of life as the basis of the magical alphabet. The number 10, the 10 numbers and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, with their traditional and rational correspondences, taking into consideration their numerical and geometrical interrelations, afford us a coherent, systematic groundwork sufficiently rigid for our foundation and sufficiently elastic for our superstructure.
I can dig it.
Yeah, go.
Okay. But we must not suppose that we know anything of the tree a priori. We must not work towards any other type of central truth than the nature of these symbols in themselves. The object of our work must be, in fact, to discover the nature and powers of each symbol. We must clothe the mathematical nakedness of each prime idea in the multicolored garment of correspondences with every department of thought. That's the real work right there. So he's really drawing it down to the correspondences are what's important, so you can actually see what the numbers mean. Our first task is to consider what we are to mean by the word number. I have dealt with this in my own commentary to verse 4, chapter 1 of the book of the law. Every number is infinite. There is no difference. See what is a number or a symbol, page 127. The student should go very thoroughly into the question of transfinite number. Let him consult the Introduction to Mathematical Philosophy of the Honorable Bertrand Russell in a relevant but critical spirit. Bertrand Russell, also a mathematician. In particular, the light of my note on number, the whole conception of the Aleph zero should give him a fairly clear idea of the essential paradoxes of the magical interpretation of the idea of number, and especially the equation 0 equals 2, which I have devised to explain the universe and to harmonize with the antinomies which it presents at every turn. Our present state of understanding is far from perfect. It is evidently impossible to obtain a clear notion of each of the primes, if only because of their number is Aleph 0. The numbers 0 to 10, as forming the basis of the decimal system, may be considered a microcosm of Aleph 0. For they are endless tens representing the return to unity by the reintroduction of 0 to continue the series in a matter progressively complex, each term representing not only itself in its relation to the neighbors, but the combination of two or more numbers of the first decad. That is, until we reach the numbers whose factors are all except unity. Greater than 10, such as 143, 11 times 13 equals 11 times 13. But this is necessary to consider such numbers as altogether beyond the first decad is only apparent, each prime being itself an elaboration in some senses or another of one or more of the original 0 to 10 series. This, at least, may be regarded as conventionally true for immediate purpose of study. This is why in numerology they always do the condensation back to 1 through 10. A number such as 3299 times 3307 times 3319 may be regarded as a distant and not very important group of fixed stars. Thus, 13 is a middle modulus, and 111 the great modulus of unity. That is, the multiples of 13 and 111 explain the coefficients of their scales in terms of a much more specialized idea, e.g., 26 equals 2 times 13 represents the dyad in a more specially connotated sense than 2 does. 888 describes the function of 8 in terms of the full meaning of 111, which is itself an elaborate account of the nature of unity, including, for instance, the dogmatic mystery of the equation 3 equals 1. Are you following that? He's going by binary.
Yeah, I was listening. We got stuck with the 888 and the 1 because I do find that interesting with the how he says the 888 describes the function of 8 in terms of the full meaning 111. I've seen 888 a bunch of times, and I did think Kabbalistically it's telling a full story instead of just part of one.
So is that the meaning of 888 to you, is like telling the full story?
Well, it's kind of like the whole I think kind of like the magician, how the 8 does go, or infinity. I think that's kind of might even show the hero's journey, because you're going to return back where you started.
Right.
Kind of in a sense. So yeah, it's just because again with 777, just looking at doubles and multiples of numbers, just for some reason I felt that 888 was more of a, I guess, kind of how he's saying it, more of a, it defines something better than the other 88. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because
it's hard to explain how I even thought that. It was something that came to mind. Honestly.
Well, this is what he said in the 3 equals 1. So, the 888 would be the completion, because 3 equals the 1 in unity. He's going back to the Trinity idea, right? So the 3 equals 1. I mean, again, this is a much more inclusive and expansive definition of the Trinity in terms of mathematics than what you get with, Tertullian or whatever. But what they're basically saying is that the divine unity comes from the 3, or the most structurally sound, least I guess wobbly of the numbers itself. So the triangle would be the strongest shape, right? That would be the biggest, the least numbers to create the most unity, I guess, right?
Yeah.
By repercussion, again, each larger correlative of any number of 0 to 10 expresses an extended idea of that number, which must immediately be included in the fundamental conception thereof. For instance, having discovered that 120 can be divided by 5, we must henceforth think of 5 as the root of those ideas which we find in 120, as well as using our previous ideas of 5 as the key to our investigation of 120. On the surface, it would appear that this mode of working could only lead to baffling contradictions and inextricable confusion, but to the mind naturally lucid and well-trained to discrimination of this misfortune does not occur. For the meaning of the primes 11 to 97, see page 25.
You want me to go? Give you a break?
Sure.
All right. On the contrary, practice, which makes perfect, enables one to grasp intelligently and class coherently a far vaster congeries of facts than could possibly be assimilated by the most laborious feats of memorizing. Herbert Spencer has well explained the psychology of apprehension. The excellence of any mind, considered merely as a storehouse of information, may be gauged by its faculty of representing any required facts to itself by systematic classification into groups and subgroups. This present attempt at a magical alphabet is, in fact, a projection, both intensive and extensive, of this system to infinity. On the one hand, all possible ideas are referred by progressive integrations to the pure numbers 0 to 10, and thence to 2, 1, and 0. On the other, the connotations of 0, 1, and 2 are extended by progressive definitions to include every conceivable idea on every plane of the universe. We are now in a position to consider the practical application of these ideas. As regards the numbers 0 to 10 of the key scale, each one is a fundamental idea of a positive entity. Its nature is defined by the correspondences assigned to it in the various columns. Thus, we may say that God, Hanuman, the jackal, the opal, storax, truthfulness, and so on are all qualities inherent in the idea called 8. With regards to the numbers 11 to 32 of the key scale, they are not numbers at all in our senses of the word. They have been arbitrarily assigned to the 22 paths by the compiler of the Sefer Yetzirah. There is not even any kind of harmony. Nothing could be much further from the idea of 29 than the sign of Pisces. The basic idea had better be considered the letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the correspondence of each with fairly comprehensive definitions, such as the tarot trumps, is very close and necessary. It will be noticed that certain alphabets, especially the Coptic, have more than 22 letters. These additional symbols fill up the tree of life when attributed to the Sephiroth. The numerical value of the letters does, however, represent a real and important relation. But these numbers are not quite the same as the original Sephirotic numbers. For instance, although Beth equals 2 equals Mercury, Mercury is part of the idea of Chokmah equals 2, the 1, 2 is not identical with the other. For Mercury in itself is not a Sephirah. It is not a positive emanation in necessary sequence in the scale 0 to 10. For Beth is the path which joins Kether and Binah, 1 and 3. Zayin equals 7 is the path joining Binah, 3, and Tefereth, 6. That is, they are not numbers in themselves, but expressions of relations between numbers according to a predetermined geometrical pattern.
See, that's the important part. So what he's saying right here, yeah, it's all collapsed into the tree itself, right? The 0 through 10 in the tree is collapsing all numbers into itself. So he's saying that all of these are, either positive or negative attributions of those same spheres, but they're not the spheres in themselves. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah. Another class of number is of immense importance. It is the series usually expressed in Roman numerals, which is printed on the tarot trumps. Here, with 2 exceptions, the number is invariably 1 less than that of the letters of the alphabet, where they are numbered according to their natural order from 1 to 22. Thus, Gemel, the 3rd letter, pertains to trump 2. Mem, the 13th letter, to number 12. These numbers are very nearly of the same order of idea as those of the numerical value of the letters, but they represent rather the active magical energy of the number than its essential being. The return to the pure Sephiroth, the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7 are primes. The other combinations of these primes. That's right. Here we have already the principle of the equilibrium between the simple and the complex. At the same time, there is an inherent virtue in these compound numbers as such, which makes it improper to think of them as merely combinations from their mathematical elements. 6 is an idea in itself, a ding as sich. The fact that 6 equals 2 times 3 is only one of its properties. Similar remarks apply to numbers above 10, but here the importance of the primes as compared to that of the compound numbers is much greater. Few compound numbers appear in the present state of our knowledge in themselves as distinguished from the value of their mathematical elements. We may now, however, instance 93, 111, 120, 210, 418, and 666.
I got to stop you there. So the way they compiled this book is completely wrong. This should have been the first chapter because this is elaborating on a lot of the stuff that he was talking about before this.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense without it. But anyways.
Especially I remember the 418 and the 666.
Right, exactly.
But every prime is the expression of a quite definite idea. For instance, 19 is the general feminine glyph, 31 the highest feminine trinity, a great modulus of 0. 41 is the aspect of the feminine as a vampire force. Oh. Ooh. 47 as dynamic and spasmodic. I guess that would be Trump. 53 is heterogeneous.
I mean, that's perfect right there. Like, this is, we shouldn't gloss this over.
Yeah.
This is where we're at.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
59 is claiming its completement, and so on. Each prime number retains its peculiar significance in its multiples. Thus, the number 23, a glyph of life, exhibits the life of the dyad in 46, and so on. The significance of the prime has been carefully worked out with fair accuracy in each case up to 97. Above 100, only a few primes have been thoroughly investigated. This is because by our present methods, such numbers can only be studied through their multiples. That is to say, if we wish to determine the nature of the number 17, we shall examine the series 34, 51, 68, so on, to see what words and ideas correspond to them. We shall establish a ratio 51-34 equals 3, 2. From our knowledge of 3 and 2, we can compare the effect produced upon them by the modulus 17. For instance, 82 is the number of the angel of Venus and means a thing beloved. 123 means war, a plague, pleasure, violation, and 164 has the idea of cleaving, also of profane as opposed to sacred. The common element in these ideas is a dangerous fascination. Oh shit, he said fascination. Yeah. Whence we say that 41, the highest common factor, is the vampire. Ooh.
Well, so is it 31 or 41? What he said that earlier.
Yeah, right. I thought 41 was the female. Let me see. 41 is the aspect of the feminine as a vampire force.
Okay.
And then he's saying, whence we say that 41, the highest common factor, is the vampire.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was the same number. But the above considerations, which we would extend the letters of the magical alphabet to an infinity of symbols, are not properly pertinent to this essay. Our main object is convenience in communicating ideas, and this would be violated if we aim too high. We can attain all our objectives for practical purposes by confining ourselves to the traditionally accepted scale of 32 paths of 10 numbers and 22 letters. The only extension necessary is the inclusion of the 3 veils of the negative, a matter of fundamental importance in the apotheotic structure of the tree given in the structural diagram. These veils are useful in only a few very positive lists. The numbers 31 and 32 must be duplicated because the letter shin possesses 2 very distinct branches of idea, one connected with the element of fire and the other with that of spirit. Also, the letter tau is referred both to the planet Saturn and the element Earth. This is a great defect in the scheme theoretically, but the traditional attributions are so numerous and well defined that no remedy seems feasible. In practice, no serious trouble of any kind is caused by the theoretical confusion.
I can take it.
Hey, there's one last paragraph and we're done. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. No, I didn't know. All right.
Yeah,
so one further difficulty has arisen owing to the discovery of the planets Neptune and Uranus. We have, however, tried, he doesn't even mention Pluto because it wasn't discovered by the time he wrote this. But we have, however, tried to turn this into an advantage by including them with premium mobile in a Sephirotic arrangement of the planets, and the device has justified itself by enabling us to construct a perfectly symmetrical attributions for the rulings and exaltations of the signs of the zodiac. For the rest, it need only be said that in the case of most lines of study, the key to success is the familiarity conferred by daily practice. So he's saying that the more you get into this stuff, the easier it is to attribute new information or new, nodes of thought into the system, which I guess is an easy cope, right? Oh, now we're on to the meaning of the primes. What are we at? We're right at 30. Do you want to pick that up next time?
Yeah, no, that's I figured exactly. That'll work out good. And what's after that? After that, we might actually be getting into the fucking shit finally, right? Yes. Holy crap. Finally. Yeah, after that one, we'll get into the table of correspondences. Nice.
Very cool. All right, so we are on page 91.
Nice.
Very
You know, it's
close.
funny it ends on 93.
Oh, maybe that's why they constructed it in this way. Well, I mean, they could reorder it, but still.
Yeah.
But I mean, that section right there kind of explains a lot of what he was going into in the previous chapters. And it's not until after you get through all that stuff does it make sense. But this is kind of what we were talking about on the previous episodes where we were talking about Crowley and his tarot and his Kabbalah, is that you really have to get through it. All of this, kind of, it seems like junk up front.
Yeah.
To then relate back to the thing and then understand that these are like gems of wisdom that he's trying to get through to you, but he has, autism to such a degree that it makes it really hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say again, I mean, there's shit that I've seen that's proof enough to me that this guy wrote in ciphers. So I'm assuming this gematria that he talks about, he's used himself in his own work. So I mean, something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. But it's not for the weak of heart. That's why we chose this book.
Yeah.
People cover it.
Yeah.
This is like advanced shit. So he's writing this after he's studied this for decades. And so it seems like he's schizophrenically throwing in all these different references, but they do make sense when you dig into the material. Do you just have the time and energy to dig into the material? That's the real question,
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a great episode. Thank you guys for joining us again.
And remind them about the mail. Remind them about the story.
Right. Yeah. If you got any of those occult experiences, any of those esoteric experiences, if you've been in a lodge and you want to explain those experiences as well, those would be great. Just email them to headlessgiantpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read those on Thursday, along with bringing you these new symbols that we're coming up with. And, there's lots of really cool, exciting discoveries being made right now if you're paying attention to it. So
instead of the emails, instead of the Epstein files, there's other things going on.
Right. We got to get away from the Goyslop because, all of this stuff about Nephilim and demons and aliens, it's all there to distract you. And we've seen it being done over and over and over again, and they're not covering anything of substance. You got to get into the really meaty stuff for there to actually be stuff there. Speculation is fun, but it's not really going to advance us anywhere in terms of knowledge or experience or any of that stuff. So we got to get around it. And I think that's what we do here. We're trying to give you stuff that you can actually dig into and understand on a different level. So, expand your vision.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Oh, and guys, if you haven't yet, go back and look at our auras episode from yesterday.
Yeah,
it was a great time.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really good, actually. That was cool as shit. It was a good time.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good show. Yeah, definitely check that out.
You say it all the time. Understanding vision is like understanding the universe. It's right there.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think there's something up with. Again, like I even, the occult symbolism that they use on a lot of animals all have different eyesight than us. Like I do think that some of them are just because of that reason.
Right.
I mean, even look at the time we were talking about the scorpion. We didn't know the whole fucking show was a retina. What the fuck is that?
Right.
Fucking weird.
Right. And, maybe Crowley knew about this stuff and he kind of encodes it in his work because, all this number relates to the eyes, all of this, he talks about the vision and the voice where he's got, these horrendous demons and stuff attacking him. Or is he talking about his perceptions? Is he talking about the way his ego gets in the way of this stuff? So these are all possibilities too,
Yeah, that is well said, sir. Well said on that one.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see you again next time. Thank you for joining us.
Later.